I'm so excited to welcome you back to another episode of From Dirt We Grow. I'm your host, Stephanie Kendall. Thank you for being here as we talk about immigration today. We're going to look at some of the history that has brought us to where we are. If you're tired of surface level narratives and want more real talk like this, take a second to like, follow, subscribe. Also, don't forget to share the content to be sure these facts get to more people that need to hear them. Now, to get to today's content, I'm going to start by asking you if you believe the hype. Have you been lulled into this fantasy world where you're convinced that people of a different race or nationality than you are to blame for this need to make our nation great again? And when we say again, when was it great before? What place and time in America's past is being referenced? Because from where I'm sitting, I can't recall a time that America's had its shit together enough to be a model worth emulating. I feel like to elaborate on that would be insulting to your intelligence. So, what I would like to elaborate on is this blatant double standard that's running through the heart of the whole immigration debate and actually has become yet just another wedge issue. So, as I'm sure you know, since its inception, the US has prided itself on being an open border country. Now, this led to a record number of migrants in the late 1800s from Italy, Greece, Europe, seeking the opportunities our nation had to offer them. As you can imagine, this created overcrowded cities, and those same opportunity seeking people began to question the open door policy. This pressure from, okay, let's be honest about the demographics here and not sugarcoat or omit facts. These predominantly white immigrants and their hypocritical cries began to gain traction and volume over time, to the point that presidential candidates started to see the value in making immigration laws part of their campaign agenda. Long story short, here we are today. A study by the New York Times found that 55% of Americans support the mass deportations the Trump organization has been implementing. It showed that despite disagreeing with him on other issues, his very policies on border control and deportations of certain immigrants superseded the dislike voters had for him otherwise. Let me reiterate, the same people who came here or families came here for whatever reason are the very ones pushing the fear based, ignorance driven, hypocritical rhetoric that immigrants are a threat to us and our country. When in fact, there is evidence to show that immigrants often fill essential labor gaps and contribute to economic growth. If you've been following along with the show, then first of all, a big appreciative thank you is in order, but also that you've heard that what is a familiar theme regarding human nature, the need for a scapegoat. Almost nothing in life is more natural and comforting to a person than having someone or something to blame for everything. Historically, the role of the scapegoat is always assigned to a group or individual who has little or nothing to do with the actual problem. But because they're an easy target at the time, blaming them becomes a convenient way to dodge responsibility and redirect public anger. That said, now is the time to take an honest look at just who, in the eyes of the hypocritical, get them out of our countryers they consider to be kick them out worthy are. I'll start with saying that it's nobody with white skin. To be crystal clear, if the concern were generally about crime and illegal activity, it wouldn't be so narrowly focused on a specific group of people. Because everybody, every race, every nationality commits crimes. More importantly, if public safety was the actual motivating force, statistical data, the factual evidential numbers would be taken into account because numbers don't lie. And numbers show that the undocumented immigrant incarceration rate is half that of native born citizens. This from Cato Institute. And it's important to note that most of the offenses committed by the immigrants are immigration related violations, not gang activity, not kidnapping or murder, not threats to society, unlike their counterparts, the naturalized citizen. That needs to be said due to the many of us attempting to justify these random, quote, deportations, unquote, by stating that being here illegally is a crime. While that may be true, the fact of the matter is that the punishment of being banished indefinitely to a random inhumane concentration camp does not fit the crime. Not to mention, there has been neither hide nor hair of the constitutional right of due process granted, which pretty much has been beaten to death at this point and has fallen on deaf ears. So I grudgingly choose to bypass what would be yet another attempt to explain that it applies to anyone standing on U.S. soil, not solely to documented citizens. Shoot, turns out I couldn't resist after all. So, that said, again, what's absolutely telling is that the only data we can find on who exactly ICE and CBP has deported is tracked by nationality, not by race, and that involves Mexicans and South and Central Americans being, quote, deported, unquote. Despite the vast numbers of Europeans, Canadians, Irish, Russians, and many other predominantly white immigrants that exist in the country undocumented. The lack of racial data on deportees is itself a reflection of a system that doesn't want to reveal its biases. On the note of these ICE agents, first of all, not only are they not required to wear body cams, but there are literally, albeit fake, however convincingly real enough, ICE and other police gear such as badges, jackets, vests being sold on online stores such as Amazon. The only reason this would be deemed to be okay and be allowed to continue is due to the fact that whatever fuckery will come about from this will actually be sadly supporting the mission they have to rid the nation of so called undesirables. This fact alone should open people's eyes, should tell you the truth about your fearless leader's actual intentions. However, does it? Now, I could take this time to reiterate how the many, many white, let me just clarify that, white skinned South Africans are coming to the country unquestioned. They're given handouts by the government, no questions asked. Let's be honest, it's because they have white skin. But again, I feel the whole elaboration on this subject would be another insult to most people's intelligence. So I'm going to just leave it right there. But let's just remember who is welcome and who is not in this administration's eyes has everything to do with the color of your skin. Try to deny the facts. Please join me. Please subscribe so you don't miss anything crucial. Last week we had John part 1, and next week part 2. Don't miss it. Make sure you subscribe. Thank you for being here. This is from Dirt We Grow. This is Stephanie Kendall. See you next week, guys.